Santa Monica Mountains National Recreation Area contains 157,000 acres of stunning mountain scenery between the Pacific Ocean and inland valleys, protecting one of the best Mediterranean climate ecosystems in the world. Today, it's the largest urbanized National Park Service site, not just in America, but anywhere out there. It has more area codes and zip codes than any other unit in the national park system, but still can truly feel like wilderness depending on where you are in the park. I recently had the opportunity to visit the Santa Monica Mountains for my first time this April, and in the one day we spent here, we got to experience two of its best and most popular hiking trails. Our visit was supposed to make up part of a short weekend trip whose purpose was going to be for my mom and I to see the nearby Channel Islands National Park. But unfortunately, due to inclement weather and heavy winds, the company which runs the boats that bring you there canceled, forcing us to come up with an alternative plan. The good news is it's our rainy season in Southern California, meaning we'd have the opportunity to check out some of the region's most stunning waterfalls, which I look forward to sharing with you in the next video. The Santa Monica Mountains aren't without its own waterfalls, however, and our first stop in the park would be Escondido Falls. First stop today, Santa Monica Mountains National Recreation Area. We're hiking to the tallest waterfall in Los Angeles County, Escondido Falls. And I've got my mom with me. This is a popular hike right outside of Malibu that lasts 3.5 miles out and back. You'll find a small parking lot right off the Pacific Coast Highway that costs $12 per vehicle, or you can do what we did and park across the street free of charge. The first half of this hike takes you through a very rich residential area before you make it to the start of a proper narrow trail through the mountains. Admittedly, it's not the most exciting start to the hike unless you really like looking at houses of people who could probably end world hunger with a fraction of their wealth. No, but in all seriousness, I actually think it's kind of a miracle that the public has access to this waterfall at all given the urbanization nearby. Eventually you'll make it to a sign that states you're entering the Escondido Canyon Trail to the falls. At the bottom of a hill you'll come across your first of 4 creek crossings. Now, if you visit in the summer or even fall, this could be entirely dried up, but then the waterfall wouldn't be flowing, meaning it's not really an option. But I will say, even when we visited at close to peak flow, you could avoid getting wet by carefully navigating rocks and logs. So I knew going in this would have like 1 or 2 crossings, but I didn't expect. This is the 4th one so far, and a couple of them are quite difficult. This one's not so bad. And I found that on all of them, actually, they're not very long. You don't need to get wet if you're careful. But yeah, just know that going in, it's not the easiest hike when the water's flowing. I'd still say it's moderate, it's approachable, but yeah. Aside from the crossings, the trail is flat and easy, meaning most people should be able to make it to the falls regardless of their skill level. When the trees open up, you get some stunning views of the Santa Monica Mountains, and keep your eyes peeled because if you're paying close attention, you can also see the upper tier of Escondido Falls way up in the air. It was a shocking first impression because I was not expecting the waterfall to be as tall as it was. Now, something to keep in mind, this trail was particularly designed to bring you to a lower tier that is absolutely beautiful in of itself. It drops 50 feet and it has a fascinating shape to it, and in my opinion it also looks a lot larger in person than it does on video, but you'll hear me say a lot more of that in the next few videos. Well, I just made it to the lower falls, and as you can see, it's pretty huge, even though the upper falls is supposed to be significantly bigger than even this. If you're up for a challenge, there is an unmaintained trail to the upper falls past this sign that states that the trail ends here. I believe the National Park Service encourages hikers not to go past this point to avoid risk of serious fall injuries. But I saw a couple other people doing it and became curious as to how difficult it was, so I went for it keeping in mind that I could always turn around if I didn't feel comfortable. The excursion definitely felt very steep, and there is a drop off to the left that you have to be careful to stay away from. And it was extra difficult because it had started to drizzle, and that caused the dirt to be slippery. I did find that in the toughest and most dangerous parts, people had put up ropes to assist you on your climb up to the top. And luckily it doesn't take too long before your view opens up and you realize Upper Escondido Falls is right around the corner. At this point, there is an absolutely stunning view of the mountains, which were incredibly lush due to the recent rain this area's received, and that was another contributing factor as to why we visited in the spring. But man, did the upper falls absolutely steal the show. I was just in awe at the sheer scale of this tier, as it looks huge when you're standing at the base. Apparently, Upper Escondido Falls has a drop of 150 feet, and I believe it. This makes it the tallest waterfall in Los Angeles County, and possibly the highest single drop of any waterfall in Southern California. Even more impressive is when you combine the upper and lower tiers, you get a cumulative height of 200 feet, which is just unheard of for Southern California. I was blown away by the beauty of this waterfall and the amount of water flowing off of it, as prior to my visit, I'd only really seen images with maybe half as much flow volume. Don't underestimate the climb to these upper falls, but if you're capable of doing it, I doubt you'll feel any sense of regret with how incredible this spot it is. This was incredible. Escondido Falls just blew away expectations. I will say I wish there was a more approachable trail to get to the upper falls, because that is a must if you come here. It is absolutely insane, but just be very careful if you attempt it, because it isn't easy at all. Now, once we made it back to our vehicle, it was time to drive a half an hour through the heart of the Santa Monica Mountains. This stunning, windy road was one of the biggest surprises from our trip, as you gain so much elevation and the scenery is very impressive. Part of the reason are all these massive red and orange rock formations atop these peaks that were left over from nearby volcanic eruptions that took place millions of years ago. You get some great views of these on the park's most iconic hike to Sandstone Peak. This is the highest summit in the Santa Monica Mountains with an elevation of 3,114 feet. But funnily enough, some of the best views you'll get, especially of the aforementioned rock formations, are straight from the parking lot. So I'd recommend before you embark on your hike to take in the scenery right away, and just in general, because there really wasn't one point on this trail that far exceeded the rest. The whole 3-mile out and back journey felt equally beautiful to me. A benefit of this hike is it's really not so difficult. My mom would say otherwise because she doesn't do a whole lot of hiking, but you gain less than 1,000 feet of elevation on this trail, which, when spread across 1.5 miles, isn't all that bad. In terms of weather, it can change rather quickly in the mountains, and we experienced quite the variety during our day here. I mentioned earlier it was raining, but at times the sun would briefly come out, and lucky for us, it stayed that way as we made it to the top. But then on the way down, it got cloudy again, and as we finished the hike, it started to rain and even hail. So we definitely lucked out with weather and got the stunning long-distance views I was hoping for, even if it was pretty cold at about 45 degrees Fahrenheit. But yeah, this hike really exceeded expectations, and I loved how the trail was designed next to steep drop-offs. Overall, this is another must-do in the National Recreation Area. Sandstone Peak, make it 2 for 2 on trails in the Santa Monica Mountains that I've just been thoroughly blown away by. Honestly, this has been a pretty incredible journey. I almost can't believe I'm in Southern California. I mean, the scenery looks like it would be in Southern California, but when so much of the region is developed, to be in an area like this that just feels like wilderness, it's amazing. I would highly recommend it, and to me, it wasn't really that hard of a hike at all either. Some subtle elevation change, but nothing bad by any means. So there you have it, our one day in the Santa Monica Mountains National Recreation Area. I was really pleased that in the short time we had here, we were able to see so much, and I especially loved how different the 2 hikes we did were from one another. They were such a great complement, and I struggled to pick a favorite between Escondido Falls and Sandstone Peak. So if you come here in the winter or spring, the 2 best seasons to do just about any hike in Southern California, be sure to try both of these things and let me know in the comments which you prefer. I'd also love to know some other locations in the park that are worth visiting, so in the future I can come back and have more to look forward to. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave it a like and subscribe to Travel Dash so you don't miss the next video where we go chasing some stunning Southern California waterfalls. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon. Bye guys.